Vibrant Living is brought to you by Springwater Insurance Group, teaching you how to buy the best Medicare and supplemental plans for your needs, and Aging and Adult Care of Central Washington, enhancing a person's ability to maintain a life of independence and choice, and Link Transit. Take that first step. Learn how to ride.
Hello, Dave Tosch, Executive Director, Wenatchee Valley Senior Activity Center. I'm joined with Glen Kelly today, our reigning king of the Senior Center. I don't know how many of you are aware of this, but this is a long time tradition for the Senior Center to have a royalty. And Glen just reminded me that he's been reigning for a while now. Started out in 2018 for the Apple Blossom Parade, and him and Miriam did it again in 2019. And oh, by the way, we didn't get quite to the point of crowning a new king this year because we closed right about that time. And so, you know, Glen's still got the crown. And so, Glen, tell us a little bit about your experience as the king of the Senior Center.
Well, probably the most exciting was, I think maybe going and visiting with the people for the parades that we did. We did East Wenatchee for the Classy Chassis and for the Big Apple Blossom parades, which were great, but also to visit and be with people in parades at Leavenworth and Cashmere, and representing the organization. Had a chance to talk at a number of business clubs here in town, Kiwanis and Lions and some of the others, and just telling them the story about the Senior Center and what it's the impact upon my wife and I and many others that we deal with.
So you're a long-time resident of the Valley, and I know you got quite an interesting history, but you've been involved in the music world a lot in the Valley. And, you know, you've got the Troubadours, and I know that right now you can't play up in Leavenworth. Typically, that's where you guys play a lot of your music. But so what are you doing right now that you can't get out and play much?
Well, it's been interesting, Dave. When everything shut down in March, I finally got to my bags and baskets and tubs of music that I've written through the years for many groups. I started organizing all of the music and then sat down at the computer again and writing arrangements, and I'm up to about 250 arrangements just within the last 3 years. And I write specifically for tuba quartets. I have a group in Leavenworth that plays nothing but German music called the Bavarian Brass, and then we have the local one, the Wenatchee Troubadours. And the Troubadours play all styles, and everything from big band to 50s and 60s and marches and Christian music and a lot of things. So I've been busy writing, and a lot of those, and 3 of those groups, of the third group that hasn't played this year at Leavenworth, called the Musicapelle, which means village band. So we've been aced out of there. And then the brass group called the Bavarian Brass Tubas haven't had any gigs as well in Leavenworth this year, so we've turned it into recording sessions. And for the first time in 20 years, we're finally getting some CDs done. We'll have 3 CDs finished by this spring, just with that group at Leavenworth. And then the local group, the Troubadours, which is a quartet of tubas, they'll be doing their first recording sometime in January. And again, because we haven't had outside gigs, we haven't had the distraction, so we practiced. And writing arrangements. I was just working on an arrangement last night on the computer and tweaking it a little bit more this morning. So for me, my activities have been a lot with music, more so in writing and playing in the last 6 months especially.
Yeah, I think that's a great story because, you know, people are trying to fill these voids that we have. We're definitely not doing a lot of the things we used to do, and so you've been able to make that up and spend your time doing things that you never could get to before.
Exactly, yeah.
So, you know, you've got a really good story. I love hearing that story about you and Miriam driving by the Senior Center one day after the post office moved out in this part of town. I'd like you to share that story with us. It's a great story. Go ahead.
Be happy to share that, Dave. So we have to thank the U.S. Post Office for making the big switch. We have had a P.O. box for years and years and years downtown, and then when they decided to downsize and save a little money, they bought a Chinese restaurant on Maple Street, and now it's our local post office. So when I started coming down Maple, for really one of the first times in my life, I would pass by this building on the left-hand side as I'm heading the post office. Finally talked to some people. I said, yeah, that's the senior center. And I'm thinking, seniors, that's where a lot of people live. They must have beds and everything for seniors to stay in. We're seniors, but we don't need to live there. But someone said, well, they have a gift shop in back and they take donations. And so we started dropping off donations. And for months and months, we would just do donations. Finally, I went in one day with Miriam and I said, Miriam, let's walk up and see what it's really like in the front part of this building. Expecting to find beds. Came up to the front, a smiling lady, Allison, I think, said hi and introduced herself, and I looked around the corner and the doors are open and it's a beautiful wood floor, no beds. And she said, no, we don't have beds here. We don't have seniors living here. I said, oh, but we do have meals. And she showed me the monthly meal schedule, and I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, boy, my wife has to put up with my cooking these days. Maybe we could spend some time and come for lunches, because I know she'd have really a good meal. And so from that point on, we made the switch, and we're now here and we're very happy. But we haven't been here since March because everything has been shut down. So I've had to put up with my own cooking. And my wife now lives at a rest home area here in town, and so she's having some nice meals prepared by other wonderful people. But yeah, so driving down Maple Street, we have to thank the U.S. Post Office.
Dave Tosch, Executive Director, Wenatchee Valley Senior Activity Center. Today I am with one of my favorites, I gotta say. Sandy Sandberg has been coming to me recently about some ideas with the ukulele group that she formed. About a year and a half ago, she came to me with this great idea of offering some lessons and some basics on playing the ukulele. And lo and behold, we got to the point where she had about 20 people that were actually coming to join in with what she's trying to do. And it's basically getting people to learn how to play the ukulele. So the group was meeting here at the Senior Center for, like I say, about a year before we closed, maybe a little longer, and it was really growing. So we thought that it would be nice to chat a little bit about how the group was doing before we closed, and then maybe talk a little bit about some of the things we might be able to do while we are closed. And I know music can be difficult when you're trying to do Zoom and other things, but through video and some of the things that we can offer right now, we might be able to work something out. So I'm talking quite a bit here. I just want to say that I think one of the reasons that Sandy ventured out here to the Senior Center was because her husband, Sandberg Jewelers and Watch and Clock Repair, her husband's out here the third Thursday of every month when we're operating during lunchtime, and you know, fixes watches on the spot. A lot of people drop their items off. He takes them home, brings them back the next time, so on and so forth. So they have helped the Senior Center out in that way as well. So Sandy's been in the community for, I don't know, 40 years or so, and really enjoys the Valley. Been involved in a lot of musical organizations in the Valley with the symphony and some others. And so very musically inclined and always looking for new ideas, which we love. And so let me turn it over to Sandy here, just to explain a little more about how she got this thing going and her enjoyment with it. And so yeah, tell us a little more about the ukulele group.
I'd love to. About 2 years ago, one of my buddies was running a ukulele class at one of the churches, and I went, and I loved it. I'd never played ukulele before. I'm a musician, music educator, and it was so much fun. I did pretty well at it, no expert, but I thought, I bet the seniors at the Wenatchee Valley Senior Activity Center would enjoy ukulele lessons. Ukulele is easy to carry around. It doesn't take much repairs. It is not very difficult to play. The difficult part is learning the musical symbols and all the music theory. But a lot of people take great pleasure in just playing chords and singing along with chords that they are playing. And they don't even know what the music symbols mean, but they can have a great time playing music anyway. So we started the lessons at the Senior Activity Center. 2 or 3 people came the first time, about 5 people came the second time, and it's been growing ever since. The neatest thing is in the first couple of weeks, people would come in and they didn't know how to tune it and they didn't know where to put their fingers. But after about 3 or 4 weeks, they would come in, I would hear people tuning their own instruments, finding the chords, playing little pieces of songs. And then I knew we were headed in the right direction with people actually learning the music and enjoying it.
Well, we've got some other music groups, I call them, here at the Senior Center. We have the Senior Center Singers. Ray Taylor and his wife have led that group for a long time. I know you've been involved with that group as well a little bit. We also have Lucy Hartman as our piano player at lunchtime, does a phenomenal job. And so, and really, I've always thought that maybe our hula exercise group might fit in with the ukulele pretty well. We'll work on that at some point. We kind of ran out of time there a little bit before we closed. But, you know, I think a lot of folks that are out there might have thought about playing an instrument at some time. And I've been told that the ukulele is one of those that you can easily learn and have a lot of fun with. You want to speak a little bit more about how somebody would learn a brand new instrument that may not have been ever have played an instrument?
Well, you have your musicians who never played ukulele like me, and you just take your musical knowledge and put it onto this instrument. But then there's people who've never played any music at all, except for maybe singing in music class in school or something. And that's the one thing that's kind of neat about ukulele and guitar, is you can put your fingers in the right places, strum, you know, following a steady beat, and you've pretty much got a song. But, you know, if you do study it, you're going to learn some music theory.
So we were thinking that it would be nice if we could do some lessons on some of these videos upcoming. How would it work if you were to have a 7-minute segment? You would start out with the basics. Maybe you could tell us a little bit more how that would work.
Yes, we would start out. I know everybody doesn't like to start out with exercises, but it is the best way. One of the songs, Row, Row, Row Your Boat, just takes 2 chords. The C chord, which we already showed you, is C's, E's, and G's. And then a G chord, this is actually a G7 chord, with lots of G, B's, and D's. So just with 2 chords, you can play Row, Row Your Boat. Row, row, row your boat gently down the stream, merrily, merrily.
Hi, welcome to Springwater Insurance Group. And my name is Jim Heinlein. I'm an independent agent, and I help folks with their Medicare. And I wanted to I guess I'll have to admit, I want to show off a little bit and brag about our customer waiting area, which really, it looks more like a cafe, and it should, because that's what we want. You know, insurance can be kind of overwhelming, and it can be boring. It's sometimes just not fun. And we thought, you know, we want our clients to be in a really comfortable environment. And I noticed that people at cafes, they go to cafes to be with friends, to have fun times and talk, as well as drink coffee and eat donuts, and we have that here too. But most importantly, what we have here is we have knowledge and information to provide to you as to what is the most suitable Medicare plan for you. Given your finances and your medical situations, we bring it all together and we'll help you with that decision. So you can give us a call at Springwater Insurance Group. We're here in Wenatchee, as well as Omak, Tonasket, Omak, and Ephrata.
Dave Tosch, Executive Director, Wenatchee Valley Senior Activity Center. Today I am with Russ Alman. Russ is a partner in the business Digital Media Northwest. Been helping us over the years primarily with our social media, Facebook and things of that nature. Been a big help to us promoting the senior center along with our thrift store, and we really have benefited from all that help. We want to talk a little bit about how we have progressed through the first season of Vibrant Motion and Vibrant Living.
Weird to be on the other side of the camera because I'm usually the one behind the camera, and so today I had to set this up a little differently. The idea behind this show was a long time coming. I think we probably talked about this 3 or 4 years back. I know you'd been talking with NCWLIFE Channel about this, and with Daryl Dickinson for 4 or 5 years, and for various reasons, it just never really kind of got off the ground until the pandemic hit. And I guess if there's a silver lining to this, to this shutdown, this extended shutdown, is it finally got this show going. Dave called me in early last summer, I believe, and we talked about it, and he said, I got to do something here because the seniors can't come in, and I'm having a hard time reaching them, and we really need to get this show going. I have some personal reasons behind wanting to do this show as well. My parents are in their late 70s now, and thinking back to my grandparents too, when my grandparents were that age, there are conversations that I had with them, and I wish I was able to. My grandparents lived in the Boston area, and I grew up in Michigan, and then moved to the West Coast 25 years ago. So I wasn't really around my grandparents that much growing up. And as I got older, I learned to appreciate more and more all the experiences that they had. And I wish I would have had the opportunity to learn more, not just learn more, but be able to document more about the things that they went through. I mean, I'm Jewish, and both sides of my family. My mother's mother was a first-generation immigrant from Lithuania. My mother's father is Russian Lithuanian heritage. My dad's side of the family, great grandparents emigrated from Western Europe, and they had these incredible experiences. And I wish I had had the opportunity to record more of that. And particularly with my grandparents, where I knew them, but I didn't have as much of that opportunity. And I'm doing that more now with my parents. And I've also gotten into Ancestry.com lately, and I'm doing a lot of that type of research too. But I'm thinking about how other people my age and my kids and other people's kids we have opportunity now with the technology that we have to be able to record people's lives and document it in ways that we never could before. And I think that's a really important, not job, but an important thing that we can do to help preserve our heritage and kind of record our ancestors for posterity. And so part of the reason that I like doing these segments is I know that this is an opportunity to record these seniors, not just for the community, but for their families. One last thing I wanted to talk about in terms of this show is how we're paying for it. Because this is a big undertaking that we've done, on the one hand, both of us are really committed to doing this as a regular outlet for the senior center, especially now that we've started it and opened the can of worms. We want to keep fishing, at the same time, I have a business, and we're producing this show, and it does take man hours to do. We're trying to keep this as affordable as possible. One of the ways I do that is by doing a lot of the shooting and editing, shooting and camera work and audio and everything myself, so that I can keep the crew to a minimum, which also is less intimidating to the people on camera too. But it's part of the reason why we do it in that format is to keep the costs down. But one of my personal goals with this has been to make this show pay for itself. So that it isn't a burden to the senior center. I don't want this to be an expense. And so one of the ways that we're doing that is by bringing in sponsors. So as you watch these shows, you're seeing things like lower thirds coming across the screen and brought to you messages at the front of the show. We also have 1 minute kind of infomercials embedded within the show in different places. And those are all sponsors within the community that are helping to pay for the production of the show. We've had some really helpful sponsors to this point: Springwater Insurance, Aging and Adult Care, Health Alliance, Link Transit is on board with us now, so really a big shout out to these organizations for helping. If you are in an organization that can help, or know one that could, we are always looking for more sponsors, and we have different sponsorship packages available. I'm not going to turn this into a telethon, but that is how we're funding the show. So if you are in an organization or know of one that, particularly ones that are targeting the senior population, doesn't have to be, but those are ideal. We would love to talk to you about being sponsors for our program.
Yeah, please call me or email me. I'd love to talk to you about sponsoring the programming.